Next up on our agenda, we have sensitive data exposure, and we're going to be using a challenge within JuiceShop to kind of talk about the ideas around sensitive data exposure. I will call out ahead of time that we are not going to be using automated scanning tools in order to find this. We're going to be doing this the manual way. And then we're going to be talking into why this happens and how it happens in this particular application, so that way it's a little bit more easily identifiable in others. There are different kinds of sensitive data exposure, for example. In this example, we're going to be exposing a confidential document, but there are other things you could be looking out for, such as plain text passwords, credentials that are either hard-coded or exposed to the end user that shouldn't be otherwise exposed, passwords, secrets, and even plain text values. So if you're dealing with a banking application, for example, there could be plain text account numbers or credit card numbers, which isn't good. So chances are, if you're asking yourself, should you be seeing this, there's a chance that you shouldn't be seeing it, and this would be a security issue. A lot of times this does come down to misconfiguration, but it can also be error prone depending on the application and how it's invoked. But coming back to JuiceShop, we're going to be talking about the confidential document. So there are two ways that this could potentially be discovered. One of it, which is using the robots.txt to gain access to a specific folder, and the other, which we'll go over, is just kind of poking around the site and just using your natural curiosity to figure out what can be exposed. So the real easiest way to do this, and we're going to open up a second tab, is we can change our endpoint to robots.txt. Robots.txt file is generally something for search engines and web crawlers as they crawl through the web. This identifies to different kinds of user agents what can be accessed and what cannot be accessed by automated scanners. So robots.txt on a website is a good way to figure out what kind of endpoints generally are not allowed to be exposed to search engines and things like that. And in this case, we have one entry with a wildcard for user agent. So this is telling us that any user agent automated scanning this site is not allowed to index the /ftp endpoint. So this is a valid endpoint for us to take a look at. So if we go to /ftp, we have a directory of a whole bunch of different things. You'll see we have a quarantine folder, we have coupons. Let's pop that open. Only MD and PDF files are not allowed. That's fine. Acquisitions seems pretty good. And right at the top, this means the document is confidential and do not distribute. And if we go back to our application, we actually solved two errors. One is that we provoked an error that is not handled gracefully, and the other is we found the confidential document, which is good. So we solved the challenge, but it's a little bit too easy. We were able to use the robots.txt, which is kind of a giveaway in a lot of cases when you're looking at websites to know what you shouldn't be looking at. In this case, acquisitions was left open, and you don't need to be an authenticated user to log in. You can just kind of walk up to it, so to speak, and get it. But there are other ways that this can be accomplished. So for example, if we go and poke around the shop a little bit, how else would you discover this vulnerability? One example would be to look at files that you do have access to and try and traverse that directory. What that means is, if you open an image in a new tab, so we have our Apple, you'll see that the URL up top is assets, public, images, products, apples. So we can try and cut down and access those directories directly and see if we get anything. We might not, but sometimes you do get lucky and you find a whole directory of images or text files or assets from the website. In this case, we don't get anything back, which is fine, but we're working through this problem. Another thing we can do, let's go to company, about us, and we have some links that are in this about us policy. It's just a lot of lorem ipsum. But in this case, for example, we have a link that goes to a legal document. So here's a legal document. We'll keep that tab open for a little while. And if we look at some of these other links, there's Twitter. These go externally, so they actually go to Facebook, they actually go to Slack, they go to Reddit. Probably not what we're looking for in this case. If we look at the URL again, we have that endpoint legal / our FTP legal MD. If we just get rid of the legal, we have our FTP folder, and we have our documents that are able to be exposed again. So there's two different ways you can find this. Robots.txt is usually going to be a giveaway in terms of things you shouldn't be seeing. But then there are other ways you can just do it by being a little bit curious and kind of exploring the website a little bit more. If you're proxying traffic, taking a look at what else could be exposed. So another example, we have a photo wall. And again, it comes from assets, public images, uploads. And we know from testing this before that we couldn't actually access any of the uploads directly. We just kind of get a blank page. So with that in mind, we're going to peel back the curtain a little bit and actually look at the code behind JuiceShop and see what this actually does. I've pulled up the file server TS file, which creates a file server route. And if we just do a control F for FTP, it looks like that there is a function to serve public files in this case. Starting with line 11, we can see if the file doesn't include an endpoint, it verifies. There's also a function verify, which is I think we should be focusing on. So if the file ends with an allowed file list type, or the file is incident support KDBX, then there's some code in here to not only solve the challenge, but also resolve the path and actually just send us back the FTP file directory. What's important to call out here is that when the path gets resolved and this endpoint kind of gets invoked, it doesn't really seem to have any kind of middleware. We can try and track down this serve public files function a little bit more. So it's in the test, and it's also in route. So it seems to just kind of get called. But what we really want to do is to make sure that this particular function may be protecting files if they are sensitive. If we look at the server.ts file, for example, the main entry point for the application, and we're going to look for what's called middleware. And you'll see there is some middleware being put in place. So Helmet is a node application for setting security headers, such as no-sniff, FrameGuard, disabling X-powered by headers. But if we go a little bit further down the page, you'll see there is a server index middleware, and that gets called on certain endpoints. Usually you'd be looking for some kind of session middleware as well. Let's see, authenticated users. So we're just kind of poking around at this point too. Authorization, app use, verify, JWT challenges, and then we have some other routes as well. So for example, REST basket security is authorized, so it looks like it's using an is authorized header, or I'm sorry, is authorized middleware in order to verify users are logged in and should be able to see the things they see. And this applies to all our API recycles and challenges, users and basket items and so on and so forth. But then if we go back to, and we look for our FTP route, there's no really such middleware that gets applied to that route in terms of user authentication or authorization, which leaves this endpoint exposed. So to kind of wrap things up again, sensitive data exposure can be stumbled upon. It takes a little bit of curiosity if you're not using an automated scanning tool, but even if you are using a scanning tool, knowing what to look for and what could be potentially considered sensitive is a huge advantage. In addition to that, if you do have access to the code, being able to identify authorization middleware and authentication middleware is important, because then you can kind of get an idea of what routes are going to be protected and which routes are not going to be protected.